Welcome to the Nikki Speaks TV show, the Mental Health Series. Join me on this show as I interview mental health experts and business owners to share their perspectives. Let's explore grief, anxiety, and stress, relationship topics, divorce, adapting to life change, and women empowerment. Join me as we talk about and explore mental health together. This is Nikki Speaks TV. Hey guys, it's Nikki with the Nikki Speaks TV show, the Mental Health Series, and today I have one of my closest friends, Liz Savage, and she is with Stand. And so, Liz, welcome.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you for being here. I appreciate it. So, as you guys know, I am, doing a mental health series, and I'm focusing on business owners and entrepreneurs who have a story and have been through some things that they can share with the community. Liz is, like I said, one of my closest friends, and we have been friends for quite a while.
Yeah.
And so, Liz, I just wanted to start by, asking you to tell us a little bit about your story and your journey and your business.
Okay, sure. Well, as you know, my name is Elizabeth Savage. My story is I'm a survivor of domestic violence and also a mother that has lost 3 of her children in a house fire. So that's my story. I've come a long way.
Yes.
I don't look what I used to look like.
Yes. Well, they say you don't look like what you've been through.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And so I'm a overcomer.
Absolutely.
Of domestic violence. I don't see myself as a survivor because surviving is like you're just surviving that moment,
right?
That minute. You're trying to survive that second, but I've overcome my past. So,
absolutely,
yeah.
Absolutely. Well, I know that the journey had to be hard and challenging, and just to see you on the other side of that. Is, I've seen, you just have a glow about you. And I know a lot of people wouldn't even think that you had walked through that. And so, if there's someone that's listening, which I know there's many people that maybe are going through a tough situation, maybe it is domestic violence or maybe it's something else. What would you say could be their anchor, during those times, those dark times where they're kind of walking through that and trying to find their way?
What I would say to them, if they're listening right now, I would definitely say that you have to finally see your worth.
Okay.
When you see yourself in the mirror and that woman looking back at you or that man looking back at you, you have to really ask yourself, who am I? Who has God called me to be?
Absolutely.
Am I more than this? Because I believe that we're all born with a purpose. And where you're at right now does not define you, but it just created a platform for you. So find your strength because it comes within. You know what I mean? So I would say to them to look in the mirror and really ask themselves, what am I worth? What am I worth?
I love that. And I love the fact that you have created an organization and a business. You hear so often that people, when they go through things, it's those moments, those pivotal moments that something's birthed that, kind of gives, what I want to say, kind of allegiance to that, what they walk through. And so tell us a little bit about the business that you have in your organization.
Yeah, well, my organization is called Stand Together Against Nationwide Domestic Violence. We were founded in 2011, April. I did this to honor my children, to honor and to help others that are gone through the same path that I went through to overcome. And, getting involved in this, I didn't know how much help was needed.
Yes.
And I wish that now that the help that's today, I wish I had it then because then I would have been able to leave sooner.
Right.
But our organization provides help to victims of domestic violence. It helps them with counseling once they leave the shelters to continue counseling. It helps a youth to cope with their anger, their hurt, the disappointment, because, they see a lot. We also provide help with getting them jobs if they've never worked, because some victims have never really had a job because they were not able to. We also help them to learn how to do finances, how to save, how to be able to, doing things that they've never done before.
Right.
We help them with clothes because when they leave with nothing. When they get their apartments, we help them furnish their apartment. So we do a lot. I know that your son has helped us in one year by providing shoes to all the children that were in the shelter. And just the joy that you see, because when they leave with what they have. And so to be able, when you're in that age, you're kind of like, you're real big in shoes and clothes and stuff. So to see people come and give these children, it just helps them to see, hey, they took the time to care about us. So so that's what our organization does. It just helps victims of domestic violence from women, men, and children.
Well, I love that. I love that you give back in that way. And I remember one in particular, like we've done it a couple of times with you during Christmas. We buy shoes for the kids. And I remember one little boy was just like, it just breaks my heart just to think of it. But he had come up to me and we had bought him some shoes. But I guess his little brother, he was only like 4 and his little brother was 3. And he's like, I have my shoes, but my brother doesn't. So he wanted us to look for the shoes and everything. So I was like, oh my goodness, so we were finding the shoes. We found shoes for him.
Yes.
And then when he opened up his shoes, though, he was just like, these are the exact shoes that I wanted. Like he had gone to, I think it was Walmart or something. He saw the shoes and his mom said they didn't have the money at that time. But it was just such a blessing to see that, we didn't know, but those were the exact shoes that he wanted. So just to give back to people that were in need. So, and it was only because of what you're doing, with those organizations to support them.
Yes.
So tell us about, because there's maybe somebody watching that has suffered with domestic violence or is in a situation right now. So, maybe they don't have the means to leave right away. So tell us about how to stay in that situation until they're able to exit or to leave, to have the strength to leave, or maybe the finances to leave, or maybe even the courage to leave.
What I would say to them is find someone that you can trust. Because when a victim decides to leave, it's when it becomes dangerous. Because it's when either some of them are killed because you don't leave an abuser. It's an abandonment.
Right.
So that means they already have issues about abandonment, So find someone that you can trust that will help you do research. Don't do research on your own, because if he or she happens to find it, is when your life becomes dangerous, or he can abuse you, worse than what he has already done. But have that person do research for you, where to go, how to do it. If you need to save money, like if he's giving you or you're making money some kind of way, takes little that he won't know and give it to that person to save it for you. Okay. So it has to be someone you can trust, so that when you leave, you don't leave with nothing, that you can escape to a place, even a shelter. There's a lot of shelters out there now that are willing to take you, that can help you for that moment while you're trying to get yourself together. I wouldn't suggest you leave with family members, because if he knows where they're at, he's going to come find you. And you're just not putting yourself in danger, but you're putting them in danger as well. So it's kind of like you have to protect yourself and protect others. It's crazy, but, because, I don't know if you remember that story, that guy, was it in Dallas? He killed the girlfriend, the mother, the aunt. And the only kid that survived was his son.
Wow.
And now he's in a wheelchair, if I'm not mistaken, to this day, or he just barely started walking.
Okay.
But you have to find someone that you can trust, someone that will do the research for you, can get you to that safe place. So when you do plan to leave, you do it while he's gone. Okay. So he will never know where you at. Right. So I definitely would suggest that you do report it to the police, because sometimes it depending on cases, sometimes they put you in protection, where they can even change your name. It just depends on how big the case is. Okay. So just like I said, have someone to do the research for you. If there is children involved, then you do have to seek an attorney, because if you don't, then it's kind of like you're kidnapping, even though those are your kids. But, just because he still has custody of those children. So you have to go to an attorney, get,
know your rights.
Your rights on what you can do at that moment, because you are in a domestic violence. So they can give you the input, like, well, do this, and then you can do it the right way.
Right.
So that you won't lose your children.
Yeah.
To the hands of someone that's been abusing you. So
well, and it's such a delicate situation. I remember, and you may not even remember this, but we had gone out to eat one time, and the waitress, I think something, you had indicated that something was, with her face or what have you, and you're like, she might have been abused abused. And so you basically slid her a card. And I just thought that was so profound that you're always kind of watching.
I do.
And you see, and I'm like, oh my God, that is so beautiful.
I'm not being nosy, I'm just watching.
Yeah. And just for you to reach out to her because maybe no one noticed, and just kind of thought it was something else. And even if it wasn't that, you still were willing to give a helping hand and to reach out to her and why do you feel that you do that? Do you think it's because you can sympathize with those women?
Because I can connect with that, because I wish someone would have noticed. I mean, when I would go to work, bruised up, when I finally started going to work because he used to beat me from my neck down, so people didn't notice the bruises underneath underneath my clothes. But then when he started to not care and he started to abuse me in my face, hit me in my face where my face was swollen, where sometimes I couldn't see because that's how my face was swollen. My coworkers started to notice and they started to say, leave him, leave him. But I wish somebody would have stepped in and said, you know what?
I'm going to help you.
Yeah, let me help you. Let me be there for you. So I kind of felt like I have to stay here because I have nowhere, to go. No, I could go to my parents, but he would threaten me, if you go to your parents, if something happens to them, it's going to be your fault. So I had to protect my parents. I had to protect my family. So I can feel people's hurt. It's crazy, I guess, because I've been through it. But I can feel,
sympathize with that.
I can just feel like something's not right. And, so I reach out and I just be like, hey, it may not be, but you might know somebody just in case. And I put it out there, but like, hey, just in case, this is what I do. And sometimes it's me, they'll be like, it's me. And I'm like, oh, well, there's some help. We can, we can get you there. So, yeah.
Well, and I love that you do that, so that's why I was like, wow, that was so awesome that you were able to do that.
I think once you leave, my biggest thing I wish I would have done a long time ago is seek counseling after you leave so that you can heal that broken you, because you can't. To me, I was going day by day, but I was broken day by day.
Yeah.
And with the counseling that I finally got, because I felt like counselors like, no, because then I have to deal with the death of my children. I have to deal with what I went through. So if I just don't talk about it, it'll go away, but it stays there. And to me, it affected me more than getting the healing. Now it's like, I got the healing. I got what I needed. I got the peace and I got this. It happened. So where do we go from here? You know what I mean? So I do recommend counseling once you leave. That's the biggest thing. I tell everybody counseling, that's because it does help you mentally, emotionally, and physically.
Right.
So, yeah. But that's that you mentioned
space.
that the rate of domestic violence has actually gone up.
Yeah. I can imagine because a lot of people are at home now working,
Yeah.
So it's like any issues that could have been, kind of pressed down or forgotten are right there in your face.
Like, oh God, he's not going to work today.
Yeah. And then the kids too, they're home. And so it's just navigating that. Yeah. So tell us about the day. I know it was, a painful day when you found out that, your children had passed. Walk us through that.
In December of 1994, he had beat me. I came home from work, and he had beat me. And it's crazy to say, but I guess it's a thing as a victim. You're like, as long as he hits me, he doesn't hit the kids, then we'll be okay. I can take it, But once they go over where they start to take it out on the kids, it's kind of like you snap, like, no, I need to leave. So that day I had came home and he had beat me, and he had jumped on top of me. He threw me on the floor and he jumped on top of me, putting his knees above my arms where I couldn't move. And he started just punching me. So of course, as the past, I was like, well, if I just turn my face, he'll just damage this side and I can still go to work the next day, because I was the only one providing.
Oh,
so
wow.
I had to go to work.
Okay.
Or else there was no food on the table, no roof over our heads. And so when he was choking me, my oldest daughter, Mercedes, jumped on his back and bit him. But I didn't know what was going on because I had blood on my face and I couldn't breathe. So I was trying to gasp for air. So he yelled, and he got off of me. And all I know is that when I asked him what happened, he said a cuss word, and he grabbed her by the hairs and he threw her across the room. And so when I knew then, I have to go.
Yeah.
It's where, I don't know where the strength came from, but I was like, I have to go.
Yeah.
This is it.
You're like, enough is enough.
It's enough is enough. And so when he left, because he took off, usually after he beats me, he always takes off. So he left. I grabbed what I could in a bag, diapers, clothes, whatever I could. And I called to my friend and I said, hey, girl, come get me. I'm going to be waiting for you across the street at the YMCA behind, just come get me. So I got him. It was cold because it was in December. And anybody that knows Amarillo, Texas, it gets cold. And she came and got me. And that day I never looked back. I was just like, but he still had, he had custody over them. Yeah. So he got a hold of the kids and he wouldn't give them to me. So finally the day that I was supposed to go get them, when I drove up is when there was a fire that broke out in his apartment. And when I ran up the stairs to his apartment, he was coming out with two of the girls, Mercedes and Marcella. And so on that day at the scene, I lost my 7-month-old. And then on the way to the hospital, I lost my 4-year-old, the oldest. And then 2 days later, I lost my son, which he was 18 months. And he died from a heart attack. They were getting him ready to take him to Louisiana for heart treatments, and he died as they were prepping him. So the only one that survived is Marcella. She was in a coma for 3 months and a half, and she was 3 at the time. And all in total, I think it was 6 months that she stayed in the hospital. Okay. So the hospital became my home. And that's when he still was abusive. He was still verbally and emotionally abusive. He couldn't hit me because I was at the hospital, but he was still, his words were like very powerful. But then I was like, it's not happening.
Right.
Not today. So today. But that was the change. And that happened in January 5th of 1995, where my life changed.
So how long after that did you start Stand?
I started Stand in 2011.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay. I was helping others.
How did you know? Like, when did you make that decision? You just had a feeling?
I just had going through, and I was like, I know there's more to this. It's more to it. So I joined a organization called Holding My Heart.
Okay.
And this organization is based on mothers that have lost children. And a mother never gets that hole fulfilled again. No matter how much love you get, it's still a hold of the child that you lost. So it was a lot of grieving mothers. So I met a lot of them, and I was just like, oh my God, I'm not the only one. And so I already started Stand. And but I did it because I was helping others, and it made me feel good, but I didn't talk about my story. I didn't let them know that I was once a victim. I didn't let them know I lost children. None of the ladies that I came across knew my story.
Was it a trust thing, do you think?
No, it was more I didn't want to talk about it.
Okay.
And the more that I got hung out with the ladies, the mothers, then it's when I started talking about it more. And then that's when I started facing, like, you are a grieving mother. You lost children. And so I started to face reality. Yeah. And it's when I was like, I need counseling.
Yeah.
This is not going to work by myself.
Hey guys, thank you for watching Nikki Speaks TV, the mental health series, where I interviewed my friend Liz Savage, CEO of Stand Together Against Nationwide Domestic Violence, which also stands for STAND. Please go follow her and purchase her book at elizabethsavage.org and donate to her organization at her Cash App at Stand Against DV. I look forward to seeing you next time. Thank you. So then you went and got counseling, and then after that you started Stand.
It just started. And then I started realizing, how can I help them when I'm not fully healed?
Right.
How can I help them when I have not even overcome my fear? Because even though I wasn't with him and I was remarried, I still had fear that what would he do if he finds out I'm doing this? And I had to realize he no longer has strings. I have to let it go. Yeah. You're more powerful than that, So when I went through that and got the healing is when I realized he doesn't control me anymore. I do as God says to do, and I'm going to do it, So yeah.
Good. Well, and I think those actions, what you did, it's just a testament to who you are and how strong you are. And sometimes when women are in that situation, like I have family members that are domestic violence survivors, and when in those situations, it's hard to know your strength.
Yeah.
and it takes something like that to be able to look back and say, I am strong.
Yeah.
And that, I went through, it's not the same as, losing your children, but I lost a marriage after, half my life.
Yeah.
So, it's just, it's almost as if, and I try to describe it like this, you go through life missing a limb.
Yeah.
It's like, okay, I know I can move, I know I can do these things, but something is not there.
Yeah.
And, not to compare the two, but, loss is loss and grief is grief, So what would you say as far as the stages of grief, that you went through? How did you really come to a point where you were at peace? Because I know you mentioned before that you finally got to that point. Well, I think you are there now, like you mentioned. How do you get there?
There's not 7-step on getting the healing. I wish there was, like there is in other stuff you go through. But how when I was at that event at the with the mothers, this lady said to me, "The greatest loss is losing yourself in the grief. That's the greatest loss."
I like that.
And I was just like,
true.
"Oh," she said, "How can you keep these children's memory alive when you're lost? You can't, because you're still trying to survive." And she said, "So that's the greatest loss. How can you honor them? And honoring them is living." And I was just like, wow, okay. How does that? Because when you lose a loved one, you feel like if you live,
almost guilty, right?
Guilty, because you're living and they're gone. But that's the thing. They want you to live. And they want you to keep their memories going. Because if you lose yourself, then their memories die. Because you can't share that with nobody because you don't want to talk about it. So it's when I said, okay, I got it. I have to heal my broken. And it's okay to live.
Yeah.
It's okay to love again.
So give yourself permission to do that. And I love how, you give allegiance to the babies and, even on your social media pages, the balloon releases and things like that, which is so beautiful, because I know they're in heaven like, thank you, mama.
Like you're showing out.
Right. So, I think that's just such a beautiful thing that you still, you still do that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Any regrets looking back on, your walk with that relationship? Anything that you would have done differently? When you look back at
I've
it?
asked that question before, and I used to always say, of course I would save my children, and of course I would have left earlier, and everything would have been safe. But now when people ask me that question, what would you have done different? And to be honest with you, Nikki, I wouldn't have changed anything.
Good.
Because the lives that my life has changed, it's powerful.
Yeah.
You know
absolutely.
what I mean? So I wouldn't.
Absolutely.
I wouldn't change anything.
Well, it's so interesting because I tell, my clients and patients I work with, when they go back and if they have any regret or anything with situations, I say this, you did the best that you could with the knowledge you had at the time.
Yeah.
So at that moment, you did the best that you could. You made the best decisions for you, for your babies. You were, it was calculated, like you said. You were making sure you had the right time and, and you left and all of that. So, I love that you said that. And I already knew the answer to that, but I was like, let me ask her anyway.
Yes.
But, and it's not. Like when we look to our past, it's not about regretting anything.
Yeah.
It's about what was the lesson I learned, or how am I stronger? How can I use that to help somebody else, in their walk? And you're doing exactly that.
Yeah.
Exactly that. So tell me what you have going with Stand and, anything that you have going on as far as presentations or podcasts or anything like that.
Podcast. Yeah, that's your thing. Now, we said, with COVID and everything, we couldn't have volunteers come in. We had to kind of slow down with all the events that we usually host every year with the children. But through our organization, we birthed a program called Born with a Purpose. And this is for our youth.
Yes.
I was asked by, at the time, Chief Johnson, how can we stop this from happening? And believe it or not, in 2019, we have 1.5 million cases of teen dating abuse. That's a lot.
That is a lot.
That's a high.
Yeah.
That's very high.
Yeah, it is.
And so when he asked me, it was about maybe 3-4 years ago, when he asked me that, I was like, man, how can we make a change? And the more that I got involved when working in shelters, serving shelters, being around women and stuff, I started to notice that they give more to the women and the man when they're going through this. And the children kind of get something, but they don't get a lot. And so what I noticed, when you start with our youth, you stop the cycle. And that's where Born with the Purpose came.
That education.
The education, that it's okay to be angry, but it's a way that you can express your anger without abuse, mentally, physically, and emotionally.
Right.
You can talk and communicate your anger. And so we've had a good turnout. We do it together with the boys and the girls. We do events with them. We do it where the men come in and take the boys out of it, because we're the only organization that can actually take the kids out of the shelters and go do things with them. And so the men will come in and take the boys and do things with them. The first event that we had with them, the men showed them how to tie their first tie.
Aww.
And some of them graduated the following year and wore that tie.
Aww.
So it's, if it makes you feel like, wow, they're
excited about it.
about that. Like, I didn't know how to tie a tie.
Right.
And so just to see men, it showed them something different, that you can be different no matter where you come from. You know what I mean? So one of the kids actually told the man that came in and helped him. They said, when I grow up, I want to be like y'all. I want to be like y'all, and I want to turn around and give back.
Wow.
So I knew that this was working. I was like, this is what it's all about. And we took the girls and we pampered them. We did things with them, and for them to feel like, I look pretty, like I am pretty. And I'm like, you are
didn't
pretty.
know that?
Your girl, like, what are you saying? To give them that and to let them know that you just don't accept anything.
Yeah.
Because you're worth more than anything. You know what I mean? So, but like I said, we haven't been able to do that this past year because of COVID, but we're starting next year.
Good.
We were given the go to go ahead and start and doing things again next year. So, yeah, I mean, we'll be having some things going on next year. We're putting the calendar together. So we'll be doing, things like we were before.
Good.
Well, hopefully.
Yeah, I know, right?
Hopefully.
COVID, go away. Go away. What about your book? So you have a book. Tell us all about that.
Well, I do have a book called No Trespassing. Yes, I did.
I love it.
No Trespassing, and it's the story behind the whole thing. The cover, it's based on my story, what I went through, what I came out, and where I am today.
Okay.
So it gives you the ugly, the storm, but then it gives you how,
The rainbow.
The rainbow.
Yes.
The stars in the sky. But I told my ghostwriter that the house where the last time he abused me and the last time the kids were alive needed to be in the book cover. So we traveled all the way to Amarillo.
Yes.
And we took the picture in front of where the fire and the time that he abused me. So that's actually the apartment.
Wow.
And
I love that.
when we got there, I still didn't have a book cover. The title, and I was like, okay, what are we gonna name it? I'm almost done with the book. I'm done with the book cover.
You're like, I'm here. I'm taking a picture.
Yeah, I'm taking the picture, but we need a title. And so when we seen that on the door, it said no trespassing. And so my ghostwriter's like, oh, we can probably put it on one of the subtitles, somewhere in the book, and stuff, how it said no trespassing, maybe the last chapter. I said, no, it's the title. So she asked me, why would it be the title? I said, well, when you see that means you can't enter because it's somebody's property and you're not allowed to go in there without permission. So I took it, what God gave it to me was, you've given this to me. So now it belongs to me. You have released it to me. So now you can't trespass and come back and get it.
Wow.
Because it's no longer in your property. It's in my hands. So to me, it's, you've let this go. You haven't forgotten it.
Right.
And you will never will, but you have overcome it. Now go do what you're supposed to be doing.
I love that.
That's where that came from. No trespassing.
I love it.
So, yes.
I love it. Well, yeah, and it's just knowing that, God's got you.
Yeah.
No
He
matter
does.
what, in every season.
Yeah.
So he very much was right there with you every step of the way.
He really was, because it was real cold and raining, and we're like, what are we going to do tomorrow? And it was just sunny and hot. And just for that moment, just for that day, it was a nice day. It was real peaceful. And so when I seen that, I said, no, that's the title.
Presence of your babies there. Yeah.
Like, this is okay.
Were you ever angry at God?
Oh, I was very angry at God. And
walk us through that, because I feel like, sometimes we go through that. We question. We're like,
why?
How? Why?
Yeah. And it's okay to, I've felt like it's okay to be angry.
I think so
and
too.
ask him, you have the right to ask him, like, why? Where are you taking me? Why
Yes.
this? And it's funny that you asked that because when I was at a retreat, we did pictures of our children in a little candle holder.
Okay.
And we had to write down what it meant. And that's when I was like, okay, God, like, what's up? Okay, what is this all about?
Right.
And, well, before then, I was coming from Houston because my sister called me and I had to go to a funeral. My brother-in-law's cousin and her 2 girls were killed of domestic violence.
Wow.
When I walked in the funeral home, the caskets were laid the same way my kids' caskets. So it took me back.
Triggers you.
Yeah, and I was like, oh, my God. So I'm away because my husband couldn't go with me. And so on my way back from Houston, that's when I questioned him, like, God, why the kids? Why? And he told me, I never take. I never take. And I was like, okay, well, let's have a talk.
Yeah.
Because, what?
Yeah.
He said, I never take. See, the thing is that we're so quick to blame him.
Right.
But when you don't allow him in, and even though he's in, we're so caught up trying to fix it or so caught up trying to survive that we don't hear his voice
That is
when he's
so
telling
good.
you, go. Because we're so caught up in we trying to fix it.
Yeah.
But
And
he
wanting
never-
it to work
yes.
our
And
way.
there was warnings. Now that I sit back, it's like, wow, it was, and I missed him. But it's not
Which
for me
we
to
do.
Yeah, it's not for me to punish myself for missing them.
Absolutely.
But it's for me not to teach others how not to miss them.
Yes. Yes.
So then I went to that retreat and she asked, write something what this means to you and stuff. And God gave me, we all go through storms. But one day those storms become stories. And then those stories will one day become testimonies. To one day those testimonies will become a purpose.
Right.
And then that purpose will become victory.
I love it.
So I wrote that down, and I still have that picture where I took the picture where it says a storm becomes a story, a story becomes a testimony, and a testimony becomes a purpose, and then a victory.
And then a victory.
And so your storm is what you're going through right now. And the story is when you finally come out of that and you're able to tell someone with tears and slobber and everything, but it still has a hold on you, but you're telling your story.
Right.
But then that story becomes a testimony when you're able to stand up and say, I was
This is what
there,
I've been through. Yeah.
but I overcame that.
Yes.
So now this is what, I'm going to step into.
My
And then it
purpose.
becomes your purpose. That means you're doing like Stan became my purpose. And then that purpose, I'm doing that. And the victory comes when you're able to give someone the key to their breakthrough.
I love
That's
that.
victory.
I love you, girl. You helping me. I'm like, where am I at on this? That story made me like, I'm walking it out.
Yes.
But yes, oh my gosh, I love that. I love that God gave you that.
Yeah.
That sounds like another book.
A girl.
Sounds like, I'm just saying, ask God. Like,
Okay. Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
There's another book in you. It's like, I know,
there
I think
is
there's 5.
several. So tell us about your grandbabies.
They are
Are you a
doing
Nana or a grandma?
Momo.
Or are you Momo? Okay, let me get it right.
Momo, yes. I'm not neither one. They call me Momo. I'm like, okay, that's close to Mama. Yes, they're all doing good. I actually have, my oldest one is last year in junior high. She'll be going to high school.
Oh my gosh, I can't believe she's going to high
girl.
school already.
I was like, oh, slow it down, girl.
Get ready.
Yeah, so she'll be going to high school next year. And then I have 2 that are in the 5th grade and then 2 that are in the 4th grade. And they all started school this week.
Okay.
So yeah, I pray for them because, I'd like wear masks, wear masks.
Hand sanitizer,
Yes.
yeah.
Wipe your desk down, everything. So
Right.
yes, but it's my son, because when I met my husband, he had a son. He came with the package,
Yeah.
just like I came with the package.
Your bonus
yes,
package.
So I raised him, so he's my son.
Yes, absolutely.
He told me, he goes, it's funny, Liz, how this works, because you lost, 3 of your kids, and Marcella survived, of course. He said, but it's crazy how God gives you back that joy. And I was like, well, what do you mean by that? And he said, you have 4 granddaughters and 1 grandson. You lost 2 girls and 1 son. He gave you back what you thought you lost, but now you can live, you can fulfill that what you lost with them, through them.
Absolutely.
So I enjoy that. And I'll be like, my grandson, girl. Oh, yeah, he told me to say that Caleb, he said hi.
Hi, Caleb.
He said,
My
"Make sure you
band
say-"
member.
Yeah.
Inception Texas is coming to Dallas, you guys, from Los Angeles to Texas. That's right. Inception is the first mental health gym founded by CEO David McCullough and Tina McCullough from Farmington Hills, Michigan. I opened a franchise in Los Angeles a couple years ago, and when the pandemic hit, I came back to Texas, and now I'm so excited to open again in the future. I would love your support. Click the link below to join our email list and to stay connected for investment opportunities.
Yeah, he Googled me, and when he Googled me, because I had all 5 of them last week, actually. And I was like,
It's a lot.
Yeah, let's break it down next time. And
Right.
No, they did good. But he Googled me, and he showed the girls, and they're like, how's Momo on Google? And so like, Momo, you're famous. I said, no, I'm not famous. And like, yeah, because if you can Google someone, it's because they're famous. I was like, no, I guess somebody just put my picture there. Because no, you can Google you.
Oh,
So, yeah.
that's so sweet.
So
So
he
he's
just-
showing all the cousins.
Yeah, like, you see Momo? And they're like, Momo, you're famous. I was like, no.
Oh, they're so
Google
sweet.
don't know what he's talking about.
Yeah. So tell me, what are you up to next? Is there anything? I know you're going to be on you're going to be speaking, right?
Next week on the, was it 21st?
Okay. Yeah,
I'm
that would
looking at
be
dates.
Saturday, I think.
Yes, 21st.
Okay.
I'm going to be on a panel, and it's called Women Discussing Relationships.
Ooh, that's going to be good.
Yeah, so it's going to be a Zoom
Okay.
conference. So I'm one of the, I'll be talking.
Yeah.
And so we'll be talking about women and relationships, all types.
Yeah.
Girlfriends, husbands, boyfriends,
Yeah.
best friends.
It's so needed.
Yeah.
Like I was saying earlier, I think, the pandemic has really caused us to slow down
Yeah.
and then also see, what's broken.
Yeah.
And, some of us still kind of, act like, okay, I can't see that. But,
Right.
but, so how do people find you? Because I really want to encourage people to donate to STAN, because I know there's a lot that you're doing that's really good and essential for the community. And I want, them to get behind you in your mission,
Okay.
especially because of, your purpose. You're born with a purpose.
Yes.
And you're working it out. So how do they find you and connect with you and give to your organization?
You can find me on Facebook and Instagram. Facebook, I'm under Elizabeth Navarrete Savage.
Navarrete. Oh, I can't
Yes.
say it. Navarrete.
Navarrete. And on Instagram, you can find me on EP Savage.
Okay.
And then for STAN, so if you want to, keep to when you can volunteer or do anything, STAN is on Facebook under capital letter STAN, but every letter has a period in between.
Okay.
Organization. And then the Instagram is STAN DV.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
And on there, if you go to Stan DV, you'll see on one of the captions it has where you can donate. They have a donation button, and you can click it, and it'll give you our Cash App.
Okay.
And it goes straight to Stan, to the organization.
Okay. 2 more things. One thing is I want you to speak to a young lady, an older lady, or what have you, and just, look in the camera and tell her, encourage her, give her whatever that you feel that she needs, whatever you're led to say. And then the other portion of that is I wanted to ask you, can someone reach out to you, just DM you and message you if they're in crisis?
Yes.
And would you have them call you, or would you have them call someone else, or what does that look like? What do you
Yes, you can send me a message on Facebook or Instagram, and I get all the messages. It comes straight to me. So
Okay.
it is private. I
Good.
get them all. So, yeah, you can definitely send me, and, we'll go from there.
Some people are kind of timid. And,
Yes, or you can email me, elizabethstan@yahoo.com.
Okay.
You can email me if that's what you prefer. I'm fine with that. What would I tell a woman or a child that's out there right now, or a man, I would say you are worth more than what you're going through. You're created to be loved, to be protected, to be cared for. Where you at right now does not define you, and it's not where you need to be. Love yourself, because when you learn to love yourself first, is when you'll know what love really is. You have to learn to love yourself, because no one's going to love you like you love you. I wrote down, because I know you asked me about mental thoughts, and this is, good for someone that's listening, is that I had to learn and to see the woman that was looking back at me, that she was someone. That she was someone and she can become someone.
How did you do that?
I had to say it to myself
Over
every
and over
day,
again.
every day. Because when you get told you're ugly, you're less than, you're not worthy, you're beneath them, different things, that stays there. And you have to literally tell yourself every day, I'm not beneath no one. I'm above. I'm not worthless, but I'm worth it.
Right.
I'm not ugly, but I'm beautiful.
Yes. So changing those
Changing
words
it every day
the
until you decide to
positive.
leave. Constantly tell yourself, this is who I am. You know what I mean? This is who I am, and this is who I'm going to be.
Right.
You know what I mean? Because if you allow for people to tell you who you are, you will be that.
Right.
But when you say, no, I'm not that. Now when people tell me, well, no, that's not what I'm thinking.
Right. It's like, who are you talking
Yeah,
about?
that's not what I'm thinking.
Yeah.
And emotionally, I put on here that I had to, like I said, love me. Love the woman that's looking back at me. If I don't love her, then no one's going to learn to, I'm going to accept anything.
Right.
So you have to learn to love me, love my curves, love my whatever. I have to love me, you know, who I am.
Right.
You know what I mean? So I say to them, love you and know that you're worth more than what you're being told every day.
Right.
You're worth more than every bruise, every black eye, every belittling words that's said to you. You're worth more than that. You know, there's someone, and even if it's never anybody, there's someone greater that loves you because he created you.
Right.
You know what I mean? He didn't put you in that situation, but he can get you out of the situation. You have to have faith. And I say this, life don't start until fear ends.
Oh, I like that.
So your life hasn't started until you kill that fear. Wow. So
Fear of the unknown. Oh, I love that. I love
Yes.
everything that you said.
Yes.
And you are one of, and I'm not saying this just because, I mean, you know, I've told you this before, but you are one of the most beautiful people I've ever met.
Thank you.
You know, but it's not, you know, people will see you out the exterior and say, oh, she's, you know, a classy lady, she's beautiful, whatever, but just completely genuine and authentic. You know, and for somebody to have gone through what you've gone through and still show up in the world the way that you do, like I know, like I'm like, please remember me. You know what I mean? You know what I mean? Like the
Yeah.
sky is the limit.
Yeah.
You know, because that is, I mean, you're selfless. You know,
Yeah.
and you give, and you pour, and you love, irregardless of what you've ever experienced. And so, thank you for what you do
Yeah,
for the world. Thank you for what you do for Stand. And thank you for, you know, having the courage that you do to keep moving, to keep going on, and just to be that bright light in the
Thank you.
community. So you're welcome. You're welcome. Well, thank you guys for joining Nikki Speaks TV, the mental health series, here with my friend Liz Navarrete. I probably said it wrong, but Savage. Please follow her. Please support her. Make sure that you give. I mean, hundreds, thousands, millions of dollars to this organization because it has a purpose. And she's helping so many people in the community. And so I hope you've been really enlightened by this and educated and encouraged to do more for the community. Thank you for your time. Bye.
Bye.
Hope you guys love this week's episode on the Nikki Speaks TV Mental Health Series show. Don't forget to like and subscribe. You can find me on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, Pinterest, YouTube, and TikTok. And my web address is linktree/nikki.speaks. Can't wait to see you next time.